like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
Laughing gear.
It's all my love. It's all my love.
The quiet man.
It's all my love. It's all my love.
Welcome to Expats Podcast, a podcast where three expats discuss education, culture, and life on the Korean Peninsula. I'm Jack, and I'm here with Ryan and Kevin. Guys, how are you doing this evening?
Doing great. All right. Stoked to be here.
Awesome.
Gonna open the window. Get some fresh air.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Now, this week, I kind of wanted to talk about something that is, I think, often overlooked. I could kind of, I have a little anecdote, actually, that kind of goes along with this topic. And this is when I was living in Thailand. I don't know why I remember this so clearly, but there was I was looking for an apartment, and I had a real estate agent, and she was showing me around, and she was American, and we got to talking about why we enjoy living in Asia or in Thailand, and specifically, and she said something that I never forgot. It was really strange because she said, you know, I feel much freer in Thailand than I ever did back in the United States. And I thought, and because we're kind of, I think, for lack of a better word, indoctrinated to kind of believe that it's the land of the free and, you know, liberty and that sort of thing. And she's like, you know, over here, it's like you can cross the street whenever you want. They're not going to give you a ticket or even, you know, harangue you and stuff. Now, if you get hit by a car, well, that's on you because you crossed the street at the wrong time and didn't use the stoplight, the crosswalk or whatever. But it's the freedom for you to kind of do that is kind of left in your hands. And I it's kind of an extreme example. I didn't know anybody that, you know, got hit by a car or anything like that, but it made me think of when I lived in Glendale, California, and I remember just getting pulled over by the cops in Glendale, who were kind of notoriously, well, again, lack of a better word, we said fascist. You know, like Glendale cops are really bad. And this cop pulls me over, and he just pulls me over for no reason because my truck was a, you know, POS model, you know, piece of shit. And he pulls me over, and he looks at me. He's like, "You're a troublemaker, aren't you?" And I'm just this guy, this production assistant from Minnesota, you know,
American
just
cop.
fresh off just newly in LA, totally, you know, scared from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. I'm like, "No, sir, I'm from Minnesota, you know. No, I've seen you before. You're a troublemaker, aren't you?" And the whole reason he pulled me over was just because my license plates were from Minnesota. I hadn't changed them over to California plates yet, but it was my first experience kind of being like just kind of harassed by the state for really just a benign reason. And then a few months later, I remember being in Burbank, California, and I just ran across the street. I didn't use the crosswalk, and I nearly got a ticket for jaywalking, which is, again, notoriously common in Burbank. If you don't cross at the right place, you can get a, you know, jaywalking ticket. And I just thought, man, that would never ever happen in Thailand, you know. And I couldn't imagine
I've
that
said
happening
the
here.
exact same thing here in Korea, saying that I felt more free as well. And as soon as you start talking about this, I can start thinking of some examples. I do think there's a bit of a double-edged sword, like people jaywalking. Like I see a lot of taxis going through red lights, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's in the middle of the night here, and there's no traffic around. And why the hell not? You know, like what I'm sure you've done this in the States back home, whatever. You're sitting at this red light at 3 a.m. There's no cars, there's no pedestrians, there's no anyone around. And you're like, why am I waiting for this? And here you can go through it. But at the same time, red lights are there for a purpose. And so we probably should, you know, obey them. But I definitely, for me, that more free moment came, I think, when I was pretty new here and I was walking around with a beer outside.
Yeah.
Really simple. But like, 'cause I remember, so when we've talked about it before, when I was a student, I studied in the Netherlands for a semester, and the Netherlands is a pretty free country as well. I mean, you can drink at younger ages. So I was only 20 when I was in the Netherlands, and I was drinking no problem. I go back to the States, and I'm still 20. I'm not
Oh,
actually supposed to drink anymore. I'm like, what the hell? Why? I was drinking 2 days ago in this other country. Now why
right.
can't I here? But I remember when I got back, I was hanging out with my roommates at the time, and we were gonna go meet another roommate downtown. And when I say downtown, I'm from a Flagstaff, Arizona. Like, you can walk downtown. The tallest building in downtown is 3 stories, so it's a small place.
Right, right.
But I remember saying like, oh, let's go down, let's meet them at the bar, and let's take a road beer. It was our first beer of the night. We're nowhere near. I mean, it's our first beer of the night. Of course, we're not drunk. I'm like, let's take a beer for the walk. It's a 1 mile walk. Let's just
Yeah.
chill. And my roommate's like, that's a bad idea. I'm like, we're walking. We're not drunk. Why is this a bad idea? She's like, I don't know. It seems like a bad idea. I'm like, come on, it'll be fine. And she's like, all right, it'll be fine. And so we start walking with our road beers. And in Flagstaff might be even worse than Glendale, where Flagstaff actually has a ridiculously high percentage of per capita police, because we've got NAU
Because the
police, we've got
universities,
Flagstaff
right?
police, we've got the sheriffs, and we've got the highway patrol, all in that same area. So we've got like 4
Yeah.
different um like police officer types in the area. And so we walked a block, and the cop pulls us over, and he's like, pour it out. I'm like, son of
Oh,
like, I just poured this. And then I come
yeah.
to Korea, and I'm again just walking down the street, and I just have a beer, and it's like, it's no big deal. Again, I'm not drunk. I'm just walking down the street. I just want to chill with a beer. It's hot outside. And I remember thinking like, wow, I can do something. I'm not hurting anyone else. This is cool. I'm more free
And that's
here.
the whole
Yeah.
point. Ryan, do you have
No,
any
that-
like experience with
yeah.
that?
I think what Kevin's describing too, I like it not just for the sake of like drinking outside, because it's novel, especially like at our age now. It's like whatever.
Oh, I
kinda.
know.
But even at our age, it's still like, it still paints the scene. Like, one thing that I like about living here that now is just default, a lot of people especially in Seoul, their homes are smaller than say Chicago or like wherever, and it's pretty common to rendezvous at a public spot, much more than it would be like, hey, come over to my house and then we'll go out somewhere, or we're going to hang out here, like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's baked into life here. So if you want to just have a single pint of beer, soda, whatever, you don't have to go to a bar.
Hmm.
You can go to a Pyeongchang or a convenience store like a 7-Eleven, and people listening have been anywhere outside of the West. You've seen this in most Asian countries. There'll be like plastic tables sitting outside. You
Yeah.
can go to the convenience store. You're paying the price. I mean, especially if you're a younger person, you're like pinching pennies, or you don't want to like go to a bar, pay the tip, everything. The whole thing. It's just
It's
I'm
a
going over there to
Hagwon teacher's
yeah. It's just
dream.
like I'm going over there.
Yeah.
I'm going over to the corner to get a Bud Light. Hey, dude, you want to meet me? Yeah, we go there, we grab that, a bag of chips, and we can sit outside. And yeah, it's kind of a grungy scene, but I do like that social aspect.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things for me here. I love it.
And
how
I like that
everything's, like, more
the benefit
social.
of the doubt is on your side. It's like you have to behave badly to get on the bad side of, let's say, the police, right? I mean, you have to get pretty obnoxious, and let's make no mistake. I'm sure there are plenty of. Well, here's the problem: this is what that conversation with that girl that I had was, that a lot of, because we've been kind of I don't remember what the word she was, but almost treated like children in a way, like. We're not even thinking about not crossing the street. We're just standing there waiting for it to turn green, and then we run across it. We're almost like, it's almost like an automatic response for us when we're in a situation where there's a lot more flexibility. Some of us, I'm not painting everybody with this brush, can behave pretty badly. I think we've seen that. Taking advantage.
It's very easy
of
to
that.
take advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like a lot of unwritten rules in the culture here too, that it kind of leads you away from what might turn into a bad behavior. Like, well, speaking of like drinking, but drinking or eating,
Mhm.
people don't really, I'm pretty sure that on the L, you're not supposed to eat, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody has their breakfast on the L. I mean, it's not weird. No one really gets called out for it. Like if someone bites into a sandwich or whatever.
Really?
Um, yeah,
Huh.
nobody's making like a bloody mess or anything, but it's like, yeah, if you're on the
Flagstaff has no
platform-
subway, so
Well, if you're sitting on the
subways
platform
were
or
new to me when I
something-
came to Korea.
Yeah, if you're sitting on the platform or something, you might eat whatever you got in your bag, whatever's going on. But in Korea, you really don't. Like the drinking thing in Korea, yeah, you could pop a beer and take a walk down the street. And sometimes it happens, but you just kind of don't. You don't see people doing that. I don't.
Right.
It's not illegal. I don't think to walk.
I don't
down
think
the
it's
street with a
illegal
beer, is it?
either.
No,
I-
but
I-
nobody really does it.
Nobody
not a thing. It's
abuses
like-
it. Yeah.
Well, it's just it's cultural thing. It's like that's not what you do. You sit down. I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well,
but I just-
that's
it's
really
definitely different.
interesting because I like that because that segues to another another thing that I had written down, and I'm not sure if you guys agree with this or not, but something that I kind of appreciate about Korean culture is that there are like exterior cultural norms like you're describing there that kind of keep people in check, as such as bringing shame on your family in a way of behaving so poorly that so let me give you an example. How many times in college did you have you witnessed one friend gets too drunk and the other friends just start messing with the guy, drawing on his face, or I mean, Dave Chappelle has just a ridiculously brilliant bit about this in one of his comedy specials, and I don't see that over here, and that's a weird, you know what I mean? Like I don't see them if their friend is almost to the level of passed out, they kind of take care of that friend, and they don't mess with them. And it's almost like our natural response in the West, or at least in the U.S., or maybe it's just my friends, I don't know, would be to
Might
start
be.
messing with that person. Does that resonate with you guys? Have you experienced that, or is that?
That's an interesting one. I'm not sure because that also might be a young person thing because I don't like. I
Mhm.
definitely don't see like even if although I don't imagine this ever happening, but if all three of us got together and one of us just got like blacked out drunk, I wouldn't draw on your face anyway anymore. Like I'm just
Yeah,
past that.
no, you're right. That's probably immature 20,
Yeah.
20
And
something.
I
I
honestly
mean, I've
don't
seen-
know
I've
about
seen it in
Korean-
movies, but my friends never drew on bodies when that wasn't a
Okay,
thing.
okay.
So I can't
That's funny.
think of it.
I have been. I was the one that was
know it- I
drawn
know
on.
it's on Yeah, you're that guy.
Yeah, I was that guy. Yeah. When you don't see that guy at the party, you are that guy, right? If you can't find him.
Going back to what we were saying a minute ago, though.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think that the freedom that we feel here is again, like I was saying, it's a double. Like one of the things that I think is really cool that Ryan and I have talked about before with freedoms is we've both commented on how we love the street food here.
Mhm.
And street food here is just goddamn amazing. And there's so much random street food, and it's like this random ghetto little cart cooking chicken on the street, and it's probably not very sanitary, right?
No. Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
like,
better
this
than
wouldn't-
Thailand. I mean,
Fair enough.
in Thailand, yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll tell that story
Yeah,
after.
but exactly, like
Or maybe not.
so these kind of small things here seem a little bit more loosey goosey with the law, or with what's okay to do, because I mean, I'm probably not going to get sick eating that. And so this is where I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, it's a good thing for me. I love it. I love the street food here. I think it's really cool. But it wouldn't fly in America because of very specific regulations and because of the cops willing to step in on those regulations. Maybe the regulations do exist here in Korea and they're just not followed. I honestly don't know about rules for street food in Korea. That might be something to talk about at another point. Street food actually is a pretty fantastic topic for later, but like I don't know how that works and if people are just ignoring the rules or if the rules don't exist.
Well,
But we're allowed to
let's
just
go to that one
have
because you
street food here.
you just walked right into my second the second
Oh,
point that I was going to make, and that exact thing that I wrote down here was less regulation. It's like there is a freedom to just kind of go out and start something and do, you know, I'm going to do I'm going to start selling some street food, like you said, and there doesn't seem to be the regulation. And
I know that
you know.
there's some requirement, like with I don't know why I know this. In Itaewon, if you're going up and down the street in the main strip of Itaewon, you know, there's all those people that have the motorized push carts that selling, you know, bandanas and hats and t-shirts and
That whole
wallets,
strip
whatever.
of
Right.
Yeah, all of those have like numbers on them. And I asked somebody once about that was Korean, and I said, how is this organized? Like, if I just show up early, can I, you know, does this person snag a spot? And it's like, no, it's rented. So they're paying a fee for that location. And I think some Poljang Matcha, like the tent cafes,
Mhm.
cafe. I don't know. How do you describe a Poljang Matcha?
I
Like, come to Korea to see it. That's all you gotta say. Like,
it's orange. Look for the orange tent. You know,
that was
look
one of my
for-
favorite things when
I
arrived
love
there.
them,
So
man. Yeah.
I was in Busan, and my first place I had on my own, because like I said, I had crashed the buddy in Gwangan, but I got out to Haeundae, and I was in Jangsan. So it's all tall buildings, you know, and everything is just modern, shiny, tall. You know, you're like living in the future, and you turn the corner and there's this orange tent, like somebody's going ice fishing. Like, what the hell is this? And it's like you can just you part the plastic and you go inside, and they're frying squid, and like there's some guy in the corner drinking soju. Like, okay, and you step back out, it's like you went through the Matrix or something. It's like, in here, out here, in here, out here. What?
you just transported 50, 60 years or 100 years.
Yeah. You just pop out. It's a mind. Yeah.
I love it. See, these are the things that I absolutely love. I love that dichotomy. I love the new and the old crammed together. It's so charming, you know. Like there's something I think very charming about it.
That's another interesting topic that we could. It's very off topic about the new and the old here in Korea. I think we could save that for another time. But how Korea has just developed so quickly that there's so much new, but it happens so fast that there's still a lot of old mixed in with the new here as well. But I think that's something we could save for another time.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's
the dichotomy.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
On the same subject about, like, it's a little bit about the old and the new, but also just talking about the food stalls and food and in general. One thing that, you know, to our theme, talking about taking things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a market. Like, straight out my front door is the entrance of Huamshijang. It's a tiny little market. It's not one of the big ones. And I love it. I love being, I think this is probably mentioned like 5 times already in the podcast, but it's worth mentioning again because it's one of the coolest things, I think, in Korea. One of the things I take for granted big time is that I seldom, very, very, very seldom, nearly never plan dinner, lunch, anything more than like 24 hours out. I'll be in the middle of cooking and it's like, oh shoot, I need an onion. I put the knife down, I grab my keys, I walk out, I'm back in 4 minutes and I've got an onion.
Right.
Like there's so much, and again, with the regulation, it's nice to have these open spaces. So when I'm downstairs, you've got people with their fish just lined up, still twitching. I can just pick what I want. I think we've gone over this before, but it is one of the coolest parts for me. And not just because, you know, cooking's kind of a hobby and stuff like this. Not like this. I think for anyone, it's just a healthier way to eat. Everything is, you're just kind of going with the seasons more, even if you don't want to, you don't care about that crap. You're going to kind of, your diet's just going to kind of go that way. I mean, I don't really do a lot of frozen or canned. You don't need to, because it's all just right there, 365.
Well, they say if you want to live a long life, you know, just the best thing to do is circle the grocery store. Never enter don't go in the middle you know, that's just
Mhm.
that's the death zone. You know,
Ah.
if you just stay on the outside.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's the meats and vegetables.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Just don't even. The closer you get to the center, the worse, more deleterious effects it'll have on your body.
Like a
if you,
vortex.
consume it.
Like a-
Markets
I
are
love
pretty
it.
cool though. Like I'm not nearly the foodie or the chef that Ryan is, but I remember when I mean there's markets everywhere. Ryan, like Jack, there's probably a market within 5 minutes of your house as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Right.
Tongbuk
Has to
Shijang.
be.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
We have a good one.
Yeah,
Has
there's
to
one right near my house also. And I
Mhm.
remember when I first moved to Korea, my very first house also, there was a market 2 minutes walk from my house. And in the States, like the only big market that I can think of, again, I'm from a small town, but like Phoenix doesn't have any. There's the big Pikes Peak market in Seattle. My aunt lives in Seattle. So I know about that. But otherwise, like these kind of outdoor markets just aren't a thing, really. And I remember when I first moved in, again, I don't know, I'm not cooking anything when I first moved to Korea. I ate at Kimbap Jangdu like every day. But I just found this market and I was like, what is this? And I just remember spending a couple days just walking up and down it, being like, this
Yeah.
is cool. I didn't buy
Yeah.
anything because I didn't know what it was. But it was just like, there's fish there. What the hell? It's still alive. What is this? It was cool to see all of this fresh food. I didn't know what to do with it, but I loved that it was there.
No,
Yeah, and I find that with the
yeah.
markets, you can actually like a lot of the markets at first glance. I like how you described that. Like the first time you saw it, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. And you kind of like you scan it. I lived here for a couple of years, and still, you know, like I said, with food being a little bit of a hobby, cooking being a bit of a hobby, I love going to the markets, but I still in my mind, the first couple of years, I just think of all the markets as very similar. You know, like, oh, this market's got this stuff, and so does the other one. It's going to be similar. But the truth is, every market I've been to now that I've been here for a long time, they each have their own unique sellers. You're going to find something in that market that, I mean, we should probably look this up as a statistic. I wonder how many markets there are, like named markets with signage, you know, like
Yeah.
an arch, you know,
Yeah.
like how many are there in Seoul? Just Seoul.
Mhm.
Do you think it's in the you think it's 1,000?
I think
that-
it
is that
is.
pushing it too far?
I
Is
don't
it-
think
is
That
so.
seems a bit high
Less
to
than-
me.
Yeah, that's worth looking
1,000?
up because
I bet there is 1,000 in Seoul
I
proper.
might take that
like,
bet. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be 1,000. 1,000's a surprisingly big number.
all right, let's do this. Let's do this. for the
depends on how you
podcast.
define it too.
He's-
The
he's going
size.
I'm gonna say 500.
Yeah.
Ryan was saying with a name, a market with a name.
Here comes Google. Yeah, it's gonna be a name market.
I'll say
1,000.
I'll say less than Ryan, less than 500. I'll say
Okay.
See this patch on Wikipedia.
I wish I were
Is
better
Google
at the
gonna have-
Price is Right. Yeah. I should have
I
said
bet
I should
one.
have said
There's one.
501. That's what I should have said. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Well, it's calling
Oh.
the Seoul. This is not the metropolitan. Like what do you say? The extended metropolitan area, where they call that the 20 million. This is the 9.9 million. So this is within like the city. Shoot.
This
I'm in
might not be an
demographic.
instant thing to find. You might have
Yeah,
to check
all right.
for it
Next-
in
next
Korean.
week.
All right.
Next week we'll come back with an answer.
We'll do some research and you're right, we'll come back with we used to go there a lot more. I've noticed that there's I don't know if this is the right word, like a gentrification kind of like the big supermarkets have kind of overtaken a lot of that business, I think. For
Yeah.
example, right across the street from my house is an E-Traders. It's like a Costco, but the E-Mart version of it. And oh man, it's hard to avoid. I know it's not. I know we're losing a little piece of that culture, the market culture, every time they build one of these things. But it's like a Walmart, right? I mean, it's.
I mean, we live in such a big city that we can't all do fresh shopping every day. I actually have
Yeah.
heard in the past that the Yangjae Costco here is the busiest Costco globally.
That doesn't surprise me. That thing's a nightmare. I
haven't been to that
going there.
specific one, and I avoided
Okay.
after I heard that statistic. The one that I go
Yeah.
to or have been to, I try and avoid.
There's a
anyway.
great, huge flower market right next to it, which is really cool. But anyway, that's for another day too. Let me pull this back a little bit, because I mean, this is so funny. You guys are kind of naturally just stumbling right into basically everything that I had highlighted in my notes. But anything all of the time. That this takes me to like another conversation that I had with a friend of mine in Thailand. Was he went back to Australia, and he lived in the suburbs of, I'm not sure if it was this, I think the suburbs of Melbourne, and we were having this conversation about having what life is like in the suburbs. And man, where I grew up, 5 o'clock, people come home from work, you close the door, the street gets quiet, there's nothing going on. Everything is inside your insular little McMansion, your castle or whatever, and you don't engage really with anyone in your area. And juxtapose that with just the absolute 24/7 chaos of Bangkok, where you just all right, I want a Gatorade at 3:30 in the morning with I can walk literally 50 steps, and I live in the suburbs of Seoul. I live in Gyeonggi, but it's still like just there's always something going on all night long.
Yeah,
And
and the city also just sort of feeds that too. It's accepted. So it's not like, thank goodness there's a 7-Eleven on the corner that's open 24 hours so I can get that Gatorade, whatever. Like, okay, now is a really good example for me, because just starting, what was it, 5 weeks now? I flipped my schedule. So finishing the semester, which is online anyway, so it didn't really matter that much. But I decided to go nocturnal because I like running, and I'm running in Namsan, the mountain in the center of the city. So my running path is around the perimeter of Namsan. And if I run after midnight, so if I get up there and it's going on 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I don't need to wear a mask because there's not a lot of people that are in there. I can keep my distance. So that's really nice. And the biggest reason actually is the temperature, because Seoul gets pretty damn hot in the summer, and at night it's just awesome. So I'm up there in a t-shirt, I'm just loving it. And yeah, so there's no problem with my schedule because it's break time. And then the only thing I plan for the summer is to go back to the States for a little bit, which I'll probably be on like Wisconsin time. That kind of works out.
Yeah. No jet lag.
Yeah, it's perfect. So what I was gonna say, it's not just that when I get off my run, I can hit the 7-Eleven, get a Gatorade, that it's open. But what's nice is that when I'm walking through the neighborhood, it doesn't feel like a ghost town. There's people out. It's safe. There's a little stuff going on. It's mellowed, but there's stuff going on. When I get to the mountain, it's a park. The trail I'm on, there's no bicycles allowed up there. It's just for running and walking. It's open. They have the guard shack, the little like guy, watching the CCTVs or whatever he's doing. I don't know what the hell they do in there. But he's in there. He's having his coffee. He's good. Hey, he sees me.
And I bet you're not the only runner there, right? I mean,
no.
Yeah.
There's always a little tribe of us that are going around. Yeah. But the loop's like an 8K loop, so it's pretty thin. I'll pass like maybe 3-4 people, and you think about a city of 10 million, and this is like in the heart of it. Yeah, that's not much. But what I was trying to make, the point I'm trying to make is that the park, it's a park, and they could easily gate that. They could just say it's after hours, it's gated. It's wide open. All the bathroom facilities there, they're all lit up. It's all open,
Yeah.
The whole trail is probably on CCTV, which again, we could also call that a double-edged sword. That's probably what leads us to have a lot of that security and safety here as well. But even at night, it'll be 1 a.m, and sometimes I like to go barefoot running. I'll take off my shoes and just set them on the side of the road. I'm not hiding them. My shoes are just there. I'll leave them there for 20 minutes. I'm gone. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. And who's going to steal your shoes?
I don't even think of
stanky shoes on the road.
It's not even a thought I have.
New York City, those would be gone in 30 seconds,
Yeah. New York City, though, speaking of parks being open, though, Ryan, do our parks in the States, do they close down parks? I mean, like Central Park is open 24 hours a day. You might not want to go there at night, but it's open.
Yeah, Central Park, I think, would be
I can't think of any parks in cities that I've been to that were closed.
But a hiking trail like that, I would think that they would want to. I mean, it's really shadowy. Like, I would think that, I don't know. When I run past I'm by the Namsan Library is where I go in. So the first thing you see when you get into that path is there's that larger restaurant, whatever. That's like traditional building that's closed, and then right next to the big waterfall, there's the bathrooms, and it's all lit up. There's nobody, there's no security guards or whatever. If that was in Central Park, you'd have people living in there. That's
Right.
a no-brainer.
There'd be like
I think having
a-
it lit up
It's
is the
really
special
nice.
thing. Having it open is pretty
Yeah.
normal. Having it lit up means that there's infrastructure there. I've never seen parks closed down at night in the States, but
But what
having things there is cool.
I didn't mean to turn this into like a shit on America, you know. Like I'm
kinda went that
afraid
way.
I'm going to get the
What the hell?
reputation in this podcast as
Oh,
being like
no.
you're just anti-American, you hate your own country, you know.
No.
It's
I'll take that. I'll take that on. That's okay. You don't have to worry about it.
you'll
Um,
take on the
I'll take on the
okay.
anti-America thing.
All right, all right.
I would say, speaking of
Yeah.
all time though, here in Korea, I think it's interesting because when we think about things being open late at night is very possible here, and maybe it's changing a little bit. But you could get like delivery. You get like a full meal delivered to your house at like 4 a.m. if you wanted to, which is pretty amazing here.
Ryan could
But
get
I
a full
remember-
meal delivered to the park where he's running if he wanted
That's
to.
true, too.
I mean,
But
it's.
I remember it being
yeah.
really hard to get like a proper coffee at like 7 a.m, 6 or 7 a.m. a few years ago. Like early in the morning, things didn't open up as well. But late at night is much more possible.
You got to come to the Muin Cafe
Great.
24/7.
There's that.
You just have to travel.
Shameless plug.
It's a shameless plug. No,
Nicely
I there's something. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just it's different culture, but like you said, in America, that bathroom would be people would be living there. There wouldn't be any.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go inside there. I once went into a public bathroom at Santa Monica Beach. I stepped in the front door and I took a look and I realized
Nope.
I will not be staying here. Yeah, if my kidneys explode, that would be a better result than what will happen if I go inside this room in this building.
You
Yeah,
mentioned the
I-
food delivery. That was one thing that surprised me when I came here, and now it
Of
is
course.
default. Now it is absolutely default. It doesn't surprise me at all. It's just that's behavior. You can be on a beach on a rock somewhere, middle of nowhere. It can be 3 a.m. You can pull out your phone and be like, I want some damn chicken, and boom, a guy shows up on a scooter, hikes over the rocks, comes through the bush and delivers your chicken and your Coke, and he's already prepaid. It's like later.
I know that
Just-
always that
just-
still shocks me.
yeah,
Like
it's
you
like
don't need an
airdrop.
address. I remember if you want to go
no
really
address.
extreme delivery, I actually one time was scuba diving down in Jeju, and we parked our gear, like they drove us out to one of the small little islands off of the coast, and we were diving off of it. And we actually ordered delivery to that small island. So the delivery got on a boat and brought us over. No shit. They brought us like Chinese food to our island. That was a special thing. I don't think it was just, you couldn't do it from one of the apps, but the fact that we got delivery on a tiny island was pretty epic.
Yeah, but they'll find you on the fly, which just blows my mind. It's like,
Yeah.
you're gonna figure out where I am.
Well, this
I'm
is
under
so
the
funny.
tree at the river.
You guys just
It's like
keep hitting
that.
my checklist. Like I just put number 9, food delivery. That was I was just making a list for myself. So you guys
Yeah,
are
good segues.
you're
tonight.
taking
Good
care of this
segues.
for me, man. I don't need to do a thing. Let me if we let's take a kind of a hard right here and go in a different direction. I was just thinking about, because a part of our conversations usually kind of revolve around education as well. And there's something just, it goes back to the old, canard or adage or whatever, that actions speak louder than words. And I feel like in Korea, education is they value teachers and they value education more than they do where I come from, where I feel like I just something flipped in the last 30, 40 years. I don't know what it was, but slowly they've been chipping away, I think, at the teachers in America. But there's something about being a teacher here where I still feel valued, and I still feel like respected, and that it feels good. Like it does.
Yeah, like that's a good job. It's a respected job, especially
Yeah.
university. Like I do think it would be different if you were telling people that you were like a foreign kindergarten teacher. I don't think you'd get quite the same respect.
Yeah,
No,
Is
you're
that
I
fair?
right. You're
actually have
right.
really, I have a very specific example of this. It
Okay.
was after living in Korea for several years. I went home, we're at my grandparents' cottage, and so kind of a bigger family reunion kind of thing going on. And my oldest uncle's new wife, like my aunt, I guess I can call her. She's lovely. She also taught for many years and then changed careers into school psychology. So
Okay. Oh,
relative
that's
to
right. In
what I
your
was, and
area,
I went
right?
the other
Yeah.
direction, right?
Yeah.
And she couldn't understand it. She's like, my goodness, why would you become a teacher if you were already a school psychologist? It just sounds like such a, for her, it was like a step in the wrong direction.
Right.
Mm.
And I don't really see one as superior to the other compared to, the work that I was or would be doing now, had I stayed, and what I'm doing in actuality right now. I kind of see them as equally viable career paths.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's totally where that sentiment comes from. I think, that was in maybe like 2013, 2014, maybe something like this.
Well, they've just chipped away at benefits and the salary and just I think there has also been a kind of a propaganda campaign against teachers in the U.S. that just that
Yeah.
they're lazy, they just want their summers off. They're I tell you, man, teach for a day. And then come back and tell me it's it's a
Yeah,
walk in the park.
I haven't seen that propaganda of negative teacher sentiment, but it feels more like, because I've got a few friends that are in education back in the States as well, and so I've always had teachers around me in my group, and so whenever we talked about teachers, it was always like, wow, that's a really tough, really good job, and you're getting screwed. So it was the like, that's a respected job. It's good for you for doing it, but I wouldn't want to.
Well, and
Right.
that's and I
Okay.
think the respect is often rhetorical. I mean, because it's like the teacher is also driving Uber in order to, in the
Right.
evenings, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, WTF? I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
If that's if that's the way teachers are making ends meet, then we've got a serious education problem.
No, that's an
Yeah.
entirely different issue, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
now
let me go.
we're going back negative on the U.S. again. So
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
gonna jump on the other side and say,
Okay.
I love America. I'm putting that out there. So I'll be on the other side.
Right.
One of three.
I'm glad there's
Just to balance it. Just to balance it.
no guns here. We're okay. Yeah. Sorry, too far. I crossed the line. So aside from that, I just had highlighted something that said, and this is interesting because I know that Kevin, you have certain hobbies that you pursue. Ryan, you have certain hobbies that you pursue, and I at times have had hobbies that I pursued. And the fact that there are like institutes for everything, I kind of like that. Like I'll use a personal anecdote here. When I turned 40, I think I had a midlife crisis, and I didn't buy a convertible because I'm too tall and it would look ridiculous, like a clown car.
Reason.
I didn't get any hair plugs. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't. It did cross my mind, but I'm waiting for the pill, that is just gonna give me the beautiful Fabio locks of hair.
Oh yeah, that'd look great on you.
It's coming.
But
It's coming.
you're right, it's coming. What I did do was I decided to join a jujitsu gym. I decided to learn jujitsu when I turned 40.
Nice.
And
Are you still doing it?
no, it lasted about 3 months.
Fair enough.
I learned I learned how to like choke somebody, and then I was like, I'm already
That's good
better
enough.
than 99% of the population, so as long as the other the
Nice.
1% I don't come across, I'll be okay. But no, I had an injury and I stopped, and the missus kind of put the kibosh on it. She's like, you're 40, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. And it kind of snapped me back to reality, and I kind of got over it, but it was fun. And I know that Kevin, you pursue certain I don't know if you'd call it an institute, but you know, hobbies like that. And I just like that Korea has so many different, you could learn how to make kimchi. You could, there's just so many different
It's easy. I think it's
institutes.
easy to jump into a lot of your interests. It's easy to get an education. Like Kevin, I remember when I met Kevin, and you were like intentional about getting a new hobby. I remember having the conversation with you, dude. I totally remember
Oh
this.
yeah,
We were
a long time ago.
in the office, and you were like, "Man, I want to get into something new." And I was like, what do you mean? What is that?" And then you just started like riffing about doing something about diving. You're like, "I like the water, blah, blah, blah." Now, I mean, you're a free diving master, so that obviously worked out
Well,
pretty damn well.
I would not
Your
go to the
license
master.
lapse.
How
You're
how
not
many
Yeah.
minutes can you? How long can you hold your breath? What's
Wait,
your
My
record?
my breath hold record was just over 4 minutes. I couldn't
You're
do
not
that right
you're
now.
not you're not a free diving master? I thought you were.
I was a freediving instructor, so it
Oh,
depends.
it's not the same thing as a dive master?
Oh well, it depends. I was using master in terms of the like, oh master, you can teach us. You're an amazing at this skill word.
Mm, I meant like certification, just like, isn't that's what you call it? I don't know.
Instructors actually. So anyway, I was an instructor. And
Okay.
yeah, my certification probably has lapsed because I haven't been in the water because of COVID in the past year and a half. I miss the water so.
So how did you pursue that from the
Not
start?
in
Like,
Korea.
all right, blew my point.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a Korean thing. That was not.
Well, so actually, there is a Korean part of it, but no, I found it and I discovered freediving on a trip in Indonesia, and then I started training down in Thailand on our breaks on our holidays.
Okay.
But even when I first got into it, which was 2010, 2010, I think is when I first started, and I
Yeah.
got serious in it in 2011. And then yeah, I think that's when I started. There actually was already a pretty big freediving. There was a freediving club here in Korea at the time. It wasn't an institute, but there was a club, and I actually joined with them. Now there's freedivers everywhere. Korea freediving has just exploded in the past. When I became an instructor here, there were literally 5 of us in the entire country, and now I just go to a pool and somebody's like, "I'm a freediving instructor," and it's like, cool, good for you. And there's just tons of people around. But there was a club for it, and this was already a decade ago when it wasn't very big. It was just starting. So I was diving with Koreans even at the time, and training with Koreans even a decade ago.
Yeah,
Almost.
Yeah.
I guess I just feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just because America is such a big country. It might be totally different in a huge city like New York or Chicago or something, but it just feels like if you want to get into something, the barrier to entry here is just you just go and sign up, and everything is kind of set up for you. And it's because of I think it's just a kind of an offshoot of the Hagwon culture. It's just
There
like,
really are
oh,
Hagwons for everything here for sure. I
yeah,
mean, I think I mentioned in one of our earlier episodes that I remember hearing of StarCraft Hagwons back in the day. Like
Oh, sure,
even
man.
even in a big city in America, like New York City is probably going to have any kind of jujitsu or dive club or anything like that. Like all of those big things are going to exist. If you could find me an esports Hagwon or institute in New York City, I mean, maybe they exist, but I just don't imagine that they're as prevalent
Yeah,
for these kind of
it's
niche things. I think there's a lot of
yeah,
like
and
small things that you can find, and you can find
even
it
if they're not
easily here.
even if they're not niche things, like, I mean, that's cool too, but even if it's something that's more popular, like if you want to learn how to play the drums, the city is
mhm.
just so big. You've got just such a massive density, plus you have this education type culture with the Hagwons. You don't have to like find a drum instructor. You have to choose among drum instructors.
Yes,
Or like if
and you don't
music's
have
your
to buy a
hobby,
trap set. You
yeah,
just
you have to buy anything.
you don't have to
I
buy anything.
remember
Yeah.
when I first came to Korea, I didn't have any instruments with me. I like to play a little music. And my friend's like, "Hey, you want to go jam?" I'm like, yeah, how's that going to work? And they're like, "Bill, it's just a music studio over here. And you pay $7 an hour. I think they're like $10 an hour, maybe. Some of the nicer ones are 15. And you're with friends. You just divide that by, you got, 2 buddies with you. And so everybody's paying $5 an hour. You got amps, you got guitars, you got microphones, you got a PA
Yes.
system, you got a drum kit, you got everything you want, soundproof room, You can bring in food, drinks, snacks. They don't care if you have beer, whatever.
Yes.
Just don't smoke. Have a good time. It's like, it's so cool. And like, there's one in every single neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
And I just, I don't imagine that happening. I'd never seen that, you know, where I come
I think
from.
along from education being everywhere, there's just entertainment everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Screen golf on every block.
Yeah.
right, screen golf. There's PC
Screen
rooms
baseball.
everywhere. There's if you want to just go and watch a movie
Yeah.
somewhere, you can. There's you can go sing, you can go play pool.
Oh, the
everywhere. There's
batting cages, baseball.
batting cages,
Yeah.
batting
I
cages
love
in the
that.
city. Yeah, that was surprising. There's just there's just things to do. It's really hard to be bored if you're walking around in any somewhat populated area. My neighborhood's a bit quiet at night. I don't think there's any batting cages here, but there's definitely screen golf.
Well, the thing, going all the way back to the market talk, but I just the what I love about Asia in general is the kind of Byzantine streets of just getting lost in this maze.
Yeah, it never ends.
And it never ends. And you just keep going deeper and deeper into, and it's just you see the most interesting things. And I went to Japan, and it was also like that, where you go in like a bar and you walk out the back door and you're in a kind of a mini, like a mall type thing, but there's you know, all these restaurants, and you just kind of get lost in this maze.
Yeah.
And for me,
You don't even know if you're inside or outside.
right, you don't know if you're inside or
Canopy.
outside, and there's a canopy, but you're kind of outside, but you're also kind of inside. And and there's just lights everywhere, and I love that. I love that stimuli of always, you know, I don't know what it is about me, but I think I was meant to live in Asia. You know, it's just from the first time I arrived, I was like, this feels right. And maybe because I'm so, I don't know if the word, if I need that kind of motivation, that external excitement, because I might, you know, be too sedentary or whatever. And I need a little extra external motivation to just kind of, you know, give me that push. And Asia kind of provides that, I feel like. And it's just, it's exciting all the time. I don't feel bored.
Yeah, you always see people doing stuff, so it makes you want to like take a chance and do something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I actually, that's one thing. Maybe that this goes a little bit off. There's a little bit of digression, but that's our whole theme.
Yeah,
I think one thing that I really,
That is now.
one thing I really like about the work that I do here, the community, not the work, the work environment that I'm in. So both my coworkers and the students I'm working with, because they're university students, they're young, they want to travel, they're curious about new experiences. Like Kevin, we were just talking about free diving. You know, I've talked to students who are getting into free diving. They're all looking for something. They're all in that exploratory phase. And then my contemporaries, like you guys, they're all like really stoked, interesting people that are doing weird stuff. You know, it's just constant. It's not that I like, okay, Kevin tells me about free diving. That doesn't necessarily make me, I mean, it might make me think like, shoot, I'd like to give that a go. But more so when he's getting excited and telling me about his free diving, it makes me want to get excited about my things. It makes me want to find something. It makes me want to do something. When you go out your door and you see everybody buzzing around doing stuff, it makes you want to go do something. I don't know. I get like this.
You feed off the energy of
Yeah.
other people that have that same kind of drive and the same excitement and interest.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
still,
absolutely so
you know?
healthy for me. Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
45 and I feel more restless now than I ever have in my life. I feel this, like, I feel a compulsion to do something. I need to do something. I need to create something. I need to go learn something. It's a very strange, because I'm like, well, I never had that feeling when I was 20. You know, I was content to just, you know, hang out and kill time or whatever. But I don't know. It's
one thing to get inspiration from the things you see on TV or the things you read about in a blog, but when you can interface with people around you that are doing crazy stuff, it makes you just kind of go on a limb. Like I got into biking just recently. I think it was like 2015 maybe is the first time I owned a bike in Seoul. And I've owned bikes before, but never really for anything other than just commuting. Like I
Right,
needed one in
right.
Chicago because I couldn't afford taxis. And so I bought a bike here for some exercise and to check out the bike trails and stuff like that. And it was one of our coworkers. He's like, "Hey man, you should take like a bike trip." I'm like, "I'm not that guy, I'm not doing that thing."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, it's way cool. You can take your bike and put it on the airplane, and then you just go somewhere and you go from A to B." And I got a map. I've done it a few times. I'm like, I don't know, shipping a bike. It sounds like a pain in the ass. He's like, "No, you can go to the country and just get a bike there." Eventually, it just seemed like a valid idea, like a thing I could do because I saw him do it. He had pictures
Yeah.
of it and stuff. I'm like, oh crap. So I went to Laos and I biked the whole country.
Wow.
And it's something that I never would have done. Never.
Right.
If I just like read about online, it's, oh, that's some extreme jock guy online. But this was like, it's just when you're with people that are excited and doing stuff, it just makes it more possible for you.
I think Ryan
Absolutely.
talking about having all those people around, like you're pretty inspirational for that. You've got more hobbies than anyone I know, I think.
Yeah,
You're
too
always
many.
doing something. I
Too
do
busy.
wonder because I know at least from my history, I'm from a pretty small town. And so coming to Korea and comparing that to the States, like I have no idea what it's like living in a big country or a big city in America. And I wonder how much of this is there and how much
Yeah.
we're attributing to Korea being awesome and how much of it, and it is awesome here, but how much of this might still exist in Chicago, in New York City.
Totally.
For me
totally,
personally, I honestly
totally.
have no idea.
I
Because it
feel
just-
like New York City might be the closest analog to living in Seoul, as far
I mean,
as,
it is, yeah,
I've
it's
never
super
I've never
expensive,
been there.
lots of
Yeah,
tall
right.
buildings.
Yeah. Well, okay. I've got one last question for you guys, and I thought, or
Nice.
not really a question, but I thought it'd be a nice way to like tie this up. But what is your perfect like a Saturday? Like you're in Korea, it could be one that you've experienced before or something that you do, every Saturday or whatever. But is there like a perfect experience that's just, something that's just, that just absolutely where you, at the end of the day, you're just, I'm thinking of the Lou Reed song, it's such a perfect day, drank sangria in the park and, that Lou Reed song. Maybe Ryan, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, I've got two answers and I'll try to keep it short.
No problem.
My perfect Saturday and my perfect Saturday night are two different things. And
sure.
I'd have a hard time if it was like my death wish kind of thing, like which way to go. It'd be hard to choose which one. So
Okay.
the Saturday would be mountain hike. I love that in Seoul, or anywhere in Korea, but in Seoul, it's so easy to get to a green area. And I love the feeling of just being taxed after a long hike. There's always like, a temple or some like small objective to get to, or, like Gwanaksan is what I'm thinking of. That's
Okay,
where
okay,
I've been up Gwanaksan more times than I can count. And just coming home just as the sun's setting, like just being wiped out and maybe ordering some food.
But in the
and,
best
getting to
possible
bed.
way, because you did something,
It's that feeling like when you're a kid and you run around in the sunshine all day,
Yeah.
or like you're at the beach and then like you're going to bed before the sun doesn't quite set. It's like
yeah.
you can still get that feeling. So that's my Saturday, and my Saturday night would probably be something like just last Saturday, which happens pretty often. Just like it's pretty similar to what I do in Chicago. I love throwing dinner parties.
Okay.
Yeah, even if I'm not the one that's going to be cooking or whatever, having people over and with this season being on the patio and being able to dine outside. So yeah, that's really not that different. That'd be just like, I mean, anywhere.
Yeah, but that's cool. That's cool. I mean, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for something simple, but something that just, I don't know, where at the end of the day, where you're just like, wow, that was perfect.
Well, I mean, I could make it a little Korean, because what happened and what I would normally do is before the dinner party, I'm always asking people who are coming over, like, hey, if you come over, I never tell them there's a time. It's like, just come over whenever. You're gonna end up watching me clean if you come too early, but whatever. or are you going to help me go to the market? So somebody will always come over early, and then like the group of us or the two of us, whoever it is, will go to the Xizang,
Yeah.
and we just
Yeah.
pick up everything fresh and kind of get inspired. Hey, what do you guys want to do tonight? What do you want to make? Something like this. So now it's Korean there.
Okay.
Branded
Okay.
it.
You did. You did it.
Saved it.
I love it. I love it. Kev, what about you? What's your what's just a perfect day in Korea?
I can't even imagine what that would be these days after a year of COVID, staying home. Like, just going out for a walk. I'd be happy with that.
Okay. Yeah, mine is weird. Mine's actually an experience. I remember when my wife and I were just first dating. She used to live in Bucheon. Bucheon is kind of sandwiched in between Incheon and Seoul, and we ended up living there after we got married. We lived really close to Bucheon, but I just remember one Saturday, we just went out and went to a restaurant, and I think it was a naengmyeon restaurant. So this is in the summer, and they had it was really good naengmyeon, and it was the cheapest naengmyeon I've ever had. This is it's like $2 Icheon Obegwon, like $2.50. It might have been $3, and but it was fantastic. Great restaurant, and we enjoyed that, and walked over to the mall, and we watched the worst movie. It was a horror movie with Paris Hilton was in it. It was called House of Wax. A totally forgettable movie, but it was just, but for some reason, I don't know why this memory sticks in my mind so well, but it was just, we had such a nice time together, just walking along Bucheon. There's a park in between the naengmyeon restaurant to where the movie theater is. There's a mall there called Rodamco Plaza. And we just went up and watched the movie. And at the end of the day, just totally forgettable movie. But I just remember thinking, wow, that was just a really, I don't know why, but that is one of my best memories. And I find it kind of funny because it was the movie was so forgettable, but it was just something about Bucheon. I just really like that area. There's really nice wide sidewalks. So you can take a nice walk through the park, eat some naengmyeon. I mean, just a perfect day in Korea.
Yeah, a little bit of planning. I mean, you could really, whatever your flavor is. I mean, how long would it take, even if you didn't have a car, if I wanted to get out to a sandy beach, how long would it take to get to Sokcho? 2 hours, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, you could get there too. It depends on, yeah. Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
not the express bus, but I mean, even that now, they got that new highway going out there. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to get anywhere, it's so just easy. Like tonight, right now, it's going on 10:30 p.m. It's a Wednesday. If I wanted to, I can go. I've got the Cheonggyecheon just behind me. If I was really lazy, I could take a cab, be there in 5 minutes, and just walk along the Cheonggyecheon's a stream.
That stream that they've created, yeah.
Yeah, and it's all lit up and beautiful, and grab a coffee and just take a nice little walk. There's just it's endless. As long as you got some inspiration, there's always something you can do in this.
Do you have inspiration and some good people to to hang out with, and I feel very lucky having living here. So we kept it pretty positive. I apologize to Uncle Sam, I guess.
Crapping on the Americans.
I was like crapping on America. No, I mean, the funny thing is, it's like, every foreigner I've ever met has come over here to teach at a Hagwon, and they diagnose Korea's education problem within 5 minutes of being here. And they're like, if they did this, 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 and this, they wouldn't have any more education problems. It's like, I mean, everybody, you could go to America but changing, there are certain things that, of course, that need work, and that's a given. But I think sometimes it's kind of fun to focus on the more positive things. And this was our list of, I think, those little things that we kind of appreciate and probably take for granted because we don't think about it too often. But,
It's easy to do.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's easy
Yeah.
to do. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up for today.
Nice.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll do the little closing thing. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button if you like the video. If you're listening to the podcast, you can find us on all the major platforms. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Pandora, TuneIn. If you really want to help us out, leave a review in Apple Podcasts, because that really helps. I don't know, with the algorithm and metrics and everything. And I'm really looking forward to our first an email from one of our listeners. And
Somebody's got something to say.
I don't care if you want to go after us, whatever, positive, negative. I've made the promise that I will read it out loud at the beginning of the next podcast. So whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, I know that's a terrible.
That's a
deal.
terrible idea. You don't
It's
know
a
the
terrible
internet very
idea,
well.
but I've already made the promise, so I can't go back.
I'm gonna
on
go
it.
create an email address just to send you something and see if you're actually gonna read it. out loud.
Right, yeah. Kevbo82 says.
Hey, you know my
yeah.
my secret, my ID.
That was the worst. Yeah, it's the soulpatch@gmail.com, but you got to spell soul SEOUL, because we love puns here at the Soul Patch podcast. And by
Fantastic.
we, I mean Jack. I do. I guess I'll leave you with take care, everybody. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next week at the patch. So good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
I like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
Laughing Gear.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
The Quiet Man.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
Dopamine. Jim.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
The brain.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
Hey, Bobby.
Let the bass go.